platform full of like how many headshot photographers are on this platform now?
There are, well, I mean, there's about 21,000 or something that have signed up and gone into the site. In terms of the coaching that actually sign up for the coaching program, I don't know how many I've had go through it. Probably maybe 4,000 or something like that. Right now, there's 1,300 that are currently active subscribers, and we're coaching constantly on how to take a good headshot, doing the best headshots that you possibly can, and making a living at it.
I love it. You are the man behind, like, you wrote the book on it. You made the best tutorial on it. You're teaching people skills that are giving them like an ability to make a living, which I love. And you have this amazing search engine on the Headshot Crew, and that's what you get access to if you sign up at PRO EDU and make any purchase until January 31st. So you have some time to check it out.
Cool.
And you'll get access to the Headshot Crew for 12 months, and you'll be able to make a profile. And this has to be like pretty much the best search engine for headshot photographers in the world. Would you say?
I would say yes, and we're actually making it more robust and working on the the algorithm to figure out like exactly how we're going to search for people and stuff like that. We do have a hierarchy built into it that we're working out. So if somebody gets coached by me and they get 15 shots in a portfolio that I really love, they get elevated to associate status, and they can make the right now we have the 2023 associate team. We do it as an annual thing. So as soon as 2024 hits, we're going to be looking for those associates that hit that team level, and they get put in the search first, but then it goes by distance and activity on the site and all sorts of other things. But we're also building out a public portion of it for information on how to take a good headshot, how to receive a good headshot if you're looking for a headshot. So we want to be the resource for headshots globally, and that's what we're starting to do. So we're starting to put out articles on headshot photography. Like, for instance, I'm going to write some stuff on there. We never had front facing content, and we're starting that to start to ramp up on that photographer search, so photographers can get the work through that. They get the referral directly to themselves. We're referring, I think it's like around, I mean, I haven't checked recently, but I think it's around like 50 referrals a day coming through that thing. It's global, so maybe 50 to 100, something like that. And whether that turns into work or not, I'm unless the photographer tells me, I don't even know. So we set it up so that contact lead generation form goes directly to the photographer on the site, and they have to secure the sale themselves. And that's just the way it works. So any subscription fees and stuff like that are part of being in that photography search. So it's been a huge thing. Like, people have gotten thousands of dollars worth of jobs from this sucker. So I'm really psyched about it.
Yeah. And I've personally met a lot of the people that have gone through your program, mostly like at our parties and, the events that we throw, and to see them like transition into like this photographer that's charging thousands of dollars, for a headshot and feeling good about it, and their clients are feeling great about it, is awesome. Because the only other places that I see it's like Gig Salad or Groupon, you can find a photographer there, and it's like a race to the bottom of quality and price, and it's not doing anything for our industry. So I love the fact that you picked up the baton where Model Mayhem dropped the ball, because that used to be where you would find like photographers and models. I'm pretty sure the website looks exactly the same.
Is it still happening? People still are on that thing?
I don't know, but it's weird that someone really hasn't created this, how to find a quality photographer with like that you can trust. Because it's hard.
It's challenging. I mean, I coach a system. I coach a recipe. So if somebody's going to get into my system, they got to shoot it the way that I see, that I think it's the best. And we are producing at the highest level. So the team they are the best headshot photographers on the planet. I know that they're doing that level of work because I coach them personally. So it's super cool to have a recipe that everybody does. I think I'm probably one of the only photographers in the world that says you have to copy me to a fucking T, and I don't know any other photographers that say that. And I embrace that with everybody, because I know if I could do it better, I would be doing it better, and I would teach them better, and look, I started teaching in 2011, and this thing has morphed. I never thought I'd be a teacher. you know, and teaching photographers how to take headshots. I just never, it was not on my radar, but it showed up and I love it. And it's cool. And I get to go around the planet coaching all over the place. I was just in Europe not too long ago in September I did a workshop in Zurich. I did one in Amsterdam. I'm doing Houston in December. I've already got, you know, plans for 2024 in West Palm Beach. I do it there all the time. I obviously do it in my New York studio. I've got a Burbank studio I do it in. I just got back from Denver like last week. I did it there. I love doing it and seeing the eyeballs like open on people, and then they can actually go make a living with it, which is the coolest thing, because I never thought when I picked up a camera, I mean, I obviously picked up a camera to make a living, but I had no clue that I was going to hone in on headshot photography. I just thought I'll just photograph anything. And I did when I started. And then this thing came in and here we are.
Yeah. And I remember watching your first tutorial, which was probably 7-8 years ago, maybe. And there's so much that has nothing to do with gear in it that makes an amazing headshot. Like, you know, push your forehead, like, you know, towards the camera, and like the small, like the thousands of small decisions and like posing advice that you have. And also like you have a lot of fun with it, but maybe like, can you give us a few tips that has maybe nothing to do with light that makes like a great headshot?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's rapport building. You know, you're teaming up with the subject. That's number one. You have to realize that people are intimidated by cameras. They're going to get in front of the camera. They're going to get weird. Your job is to pull them back. And most photographers don't do that. Most photographers are so worried about their aperture, ISO, and shutter speed that they don't even get to worry about their subject. So then you got to look through your viewfinder and decide if you're going to send the message from your cerebral cortex down your spine, into your shoulder, down your humerus, into your elbow, through your forearm, into your index finger, that tells your index finger to narrow the distance between itself and the floor. You like that?
That was good. Do you always say it in that order? Is that something you memorized? Or
obviously I've memorized. I mean, I rattled it off pretty quick, right? But I do say that because I'm like, the photographers, I think we're willy-nilly these days with digital, because you're just plopping, you're just firing away. And some photographers, portrait photographers, leave it on burst mode. I don't know what they got an R3 on high speed going like nothing happened in those seconds, people. You didn't do anything to stimulate anything interesting. So I think the biggest fault of the photographer is not really doing what I consider what my work became, and it's facial conveyance strategy. So I'm strategizing on what this person's conveying with their face, and I'm waiting until the face says something that conveys something to me that I want to see, and then I hit the shutter. And that's the difference. And I think that we're so quick to just, we're trigger happy, and you get a bunch of crap. So then people put crap out there, and that's what they put in their portfolio. And the people look, you know, out to lunch, or just, I call it nephoface, non-existent facial activity. They just look blank, and it doesn't give you any juice. It doesn't get the onlooker to stop and go, whoa, that's pretty cool. There's a couple things that happen just organically for me. One is that profile pictures showed up. I was shooting headshots for actors. Like, they needed it for, you know, and I was printing them on 8x10s. And then all of a sudden the industry decided, okay, well, we're not going to print 8x10s anymore. We're going to put everything in thumbnails online and make them this big. And I was like, and I was shooting closer than everybody else. So I was always cropping tight, lighting really well, and nailing that expression. And instantly my work stood out. So I was like, okay, I'm onto something. And then these companies come out with these specs from 1980 where they shot the person from the mid-waist up and they call it a headshot. And most people, if you notice the average American, their mid-waist section where most companies crop them is not the most wonderful section of a human being. It's not the place where we should be cropping. So they're cropping there, they're doing all this stuff. And then these thumbnails came out, and now they're shooting what I consider half body, and they look like their face is like this small. And so when I started to stress to everybody, you got to light it well, you got to get the expression, and you got to be front and center. You got to be up close. It changed, you know, and people started to understand that. And then when you actually get the expression to look alive, now you're really onto something. That's a different level. Now you're on a different playing field. And the playing field is not an even surface anymore. Now you're in a different atmosphere, and you can make money at that. And we've gotten people, I've gotten people who haven't made a dime with headshots over $100,000 a year in headshots, $200,000 a year, 300, 400, and people are going over $500,000 with headshots that a few people in my group, which is really nice. And some people add it as an add-on, and some people drop everything else and go, this is going to be my life. This is super cool. And it becomes, people have always said to me, like, aren't you bored? Like, you shoot the same every day. And I'm like, yeah, I shoot the same every day, but I have a different human being in front of me every day. And that's the fun stuff. Like, they're wild cards. It's amazing. I used to like want to meet them and talk to them before the session. Now it's like I don't get bored because I just wait till the person opens the door and it's like a surprise, and the door opens and I go, oh my gosh, look at that face I'm working with today. Or look at this. Like, some people come in and I'm like, I didn't know what I was getting. I point the camera out and press the button. They look gorgeous. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to walk in my life today. And I have a field day, and some people walk in and it's like they're like a total disaster area, and verbally it comes out of their mouth. We have I did this TEDx talk, and Dr. Anna Rowley was in it with me, and she said we live in a fault-based society, so we have this negativity bias that comes out of our mouths about us. So we don't I never had anybody walk in and go, Peter, it's your lucky day, my skin's flawless, I'm radiant, like you should be paying me. They all come in and go, oh my gosh, you got your work cut out for you. I hate cameras. It's a bad hair day. I rushed over here. I didn't even get to put the right clothes or makeup there. I'm a mess. I'm like, great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for telling me. This is going to be helpful. It's going to get me through the day. So that's what you get. So most photographers, I don't think they handle that very well. And if they do handle that part of it well, there's so many different aspects of it. You have to be a jack of all trades. You've got to have your, my settings don't change. Like, I don't change them. I have one floater and it's my ISO. That's all I change. I don't change. My aperture is always the same. My shutter speed's always the same. My light is generally the same. I'm tweaking it constantly for the human, and I adjust it for, I don't go by numbers. I go by my eye, and I utilize Capture One to really fine tune the skin and make sure that I'm doing what I want with the luminosity on the skin. I think that so many skin tones are different, and skin textures and skin, the amount of how dry or oily the skin is will change the look of your image completely. I'll be like struggling with someone's face and be like, why is this not working today? Nothing's working. I can't get the skin to look good. I can't get the light right. Nothing's looking good today. And then that person works out, a new person walks in. I got two, say I'm shooting 2 people in a day. And all of a sudden I click the shutter. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's perfection. I was like, what was it? It could be just skin texture. It's like amazing. It just blows me away. So figuring that stuff out, getting that all behind you, and then having the numbers behind you, like, people have to shoot, and a lot of photographers don't shoot enough. Like, if you're not shooting every day, I get rusty if I don't shoot for like a couple weeks. I get rusty. I like to shoot every day, but I don't like to shoot every day anymore. I'm going to I got over it, but I still love shooting. I definitely want to be shooting at least 3 or 4 times a week. I just can't. I get, you just lose it. And I think a lot of photographers out there are sitting on the sidelines waiting for people to, hire them, when they should be going, okay, what do I want my portfolio to look like? And they should be grabbing a human being on the street that's got some lookability, that they're like, oh, look at this person. That person's cool looking. Let me ask him if I can get him in the studio, and doing that so you can fill your portfolio with stuff if you're not busy with bookings or anything like that. And especially if you're in the build mode. If you're in a build mode, you got to shoot. You got to shoot. Can't not shoot. You got to shoot every day.
I remember, I don't think I've ever told you this story, but when your first tutorial came out, my daughter was at a charter school that didn't really have photos set up. And he knew that, they knew that I was a photographer, and I had never done school photos, but, like growing up with the Jostens, photos, like how hard could it be to beat that? So I used your approach. Me and another photographer used your approach, and we did on white and black. So we shot like 15 to 20 of these kids, got them laughing, got them in different poses, had to like give their arms up. And I mean, we shot way too much. So we had like 40 to 50 images of selects of like 300 kids, which was impossible to manage. But I remember the comments of the parents being like, "Oh my God, my kid looks like he works at an advertising firm," or like, "This looks like a LinkedIn headshot." We made no money. We basically just did it for free and you know, turned over the files. But I remember that being such a rewarding experience to give, like, one, to make it fun for the kids, and like to give parents like what will be like the one photo that stands out from all the Jostins
Yeah,
photos
right.
that are just so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's I got lucky to stumble upon a look that's clean, simple, and straight to the point. It's no fluff. It works. And and people, 20 years ago told me, well, you can't do that all your career. You got to mix up. I was like, I've been doing it. That was 20 years ago. They told me I couldn't do it. I'm still doing it. Obviously, I can still do it. Like the classic white background headshot, everybody needs one.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I mean, it's so simple. It's just, you just got to nail it. It's fine tuning, and I fine tune, with my concepts that I coach on, and you could see it a mile away. Like you can see, it's funny because there's other groups out there that, people post headshots in groups online and stuff that aren't the headshot crew. I try not to look because I'm looking at too many headshots within the headshot crew. But when I look outside the headshot crew and I see something, I'm like, God, I just shake my head. I was like, man, if this person, like, I can't twist their arm to enter my sphere, but if they did, I think they'd be mind blown to how to tweak these things that are, your standard headshot concepts from over the years. Like I said, shooting half body, it does nothing for anybody these days. I don't know why anybody would do that anymore, but anyway, it's cool.
So I've seen your work change or your lighting change. So how has technology kind of like helped you evolve, if at all, to become either more efficient or better images? And what's your lighting setup now?
Well, I mean, the thing was, I was a natural light shooter when I started. I shot all natural light. Like when somebody comes to me and tells me they can't start a headshot business because they don't have money for lights, I laugh at them. I'm like, there's no way you can do it. Like I could do a whole portfolio in natural light today. Like in the next 2 weeks, if I just shot natural light, I could put a whole portfolio out and people would book me for that. It's gorgeous. And I have this quote I usually say, never underestimate the power of natural light. So when I moved into a studio, I was doing all that in an apartment with a big window. And I did it for 4 years. I picked up a camera in 2000, and in 2004, I got my first studio. So all I did was shoot natural light. So I got in the studio. There were no windows in this little room I was in. I was like, shit, what am I going to do? And I did not know lighting well enough. I was trying to learn and try. It's amazing, photography and light, how it really takes a lot of time to sink in, and it's very hard to teach because you don't know how somebody's brain's going to take your teaching on lighting. I used to teach a course, and I did a tutorial called Illuminating the Face, and then I did a tutorial workshop called Illuminating the Face, and I got frustrated doing the workshop because it wouldn't sink in for people, and I was like, I'm going to stop doing this workshop because it's not sinking in. I could see that it's not sinking. Why isn't it sinking in? And then over the years, I finally found ways to teach lighting where it sinks in. And that's the hard part. So when I was in that room without any windows, I was shooting pro photo strobes, blasting them off, but it was all white room, and I didn't have the right modifiers on them, and I didn't know about the inverse square law, and I didn't know I was blowing light all over the place, and I didn't know the positioning of lights. I got really frustrating going from natural light to strobe, especially I was pretty much digital by then, so I could. Before that, when I shot strobe, I was pulling Polaroids. I had to wait 2 minutes, so I have no sympathy for anybody that's shooting now to learn. I mean, I had to. Yeah, remember pulling Polaroids and then you had to wait? It was terrible. I mean, the Polaroid looked cool. You got to take the Polaroids. I still have my old Polaroid camera. You could get that going again. But I'm in this room without any windows, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And this photographer named Perry Ogden came in and rented the studio that I was part of. It was a bigger studio outside. And I looked in on the set, and his assistant was there, and we became friendly and started talking. I forget the guy's name, but looked at, I was like, what are those? And he's like, oh, those are fluorescent lights. They're called KinoFlow lights. I was like, really? I said, that's continuous. He goes, yeah, we use it for this, that, or the other thing. And I saw some of the pullers. I was looked amazing. So they left, and I looked, they left on a Friday, and I saw the lights sitting there packed up on the floor. And I go to the studio manager. I was like, what's going on with those lights? And he's like, oh, the rental house is coming to pick them up Monday. I was like, Monday? Wow. So I immediately called. I had a client Saturday, I think, because I have the shots still, the exact shots that I used on that. And I set those suckers up. I fired them away, and I was like, this is it. I needed to see. I just needed to see. That's the kind of shooter I was. I was a natural light shooter. I needed to see. The thing is that our eye has so many more stops than a camera. So it's really hard to see. So I try to teach photographers that you need to see, but you really need to think about the translation between what your eye sees and what the camera sees, and having a calibrated monitor to look at, shooting into Capture One, because it's got tools that I use in there that I love. I can adjust my eye to see to use my brain to see what it's going to look like when it gets to the screen now better than ever. And I went to B&H and I bought those KinoFlows that Monday, and I shot them forever. And I remember I booked this job where I became very accustomed to them. Like I needed them. So I decided in 2008 that I had already won Best Headshot Photographer in New York a bunch of times from Backstage Magazine. And I was like, I want to go to LA. Like I don't want to be just considered the best in New York. I want to be the best in the country. And I was like, I got to open up in LA. So I opened up a studio in LA. I bought a set of KinoFlows. I put it in that studio, and I started shooting in LA. And the biggest printer in LA was this guy, AJ at Argentum, printed all the actor stuff. And he said, immediately when you got here, people started to shoot like you. He said, everybody went horizontal. I started seeing the white background come in. All this stuff started happening. I was like, cool. And then I booked this job where I had to go to Hawaii to shoot the cast and crew of Lost. And I had to shoot a bunch of people. They were on set in LA, some of the editors and the producers. And I don't think I shot any actors. I shot they had their offices in LA, and I went and shot a bunch of people in the offices, and I brought my KinoFlows with me. But when we flew to Hawaii, I was like, we're going to be in like the jungle. I don't know where we're going to be in Hawaii. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what the set's like. I don't want to throw KinoFlows on a plane. They were huge. And I got to Hawaii, and I had to shoot all the actors and all the stuff and all the behind the scenes stuff without the Kinos, which was like really tough for me because I was still in that experimental phase with strobes and trying to still find my way with strobes. So that was a frustration point. And years later, I was like, I need to travel with these, and I need more control over them. And I had some success selling some products. And my brother, who was actually, this was his office I'm sitting in right now. He was working. He's a finance guy, but we shared my studio together, and he had seen the success I had. And he's like, you should make lights. Why don't you just make lights? And I'm like, and I was thinking about making my own lights, and I was like, all right. He goes, I'll go in on it with you. You have had some success. Let's go in on it together. I was like, all right. I was like, why not? I was like, let's do it. And he put the investment up, and I was the poor younger brother that the older brother always took care of. So he's like, look, I'll put it up, and then we'll figure it out when the income starts coming in, and we'll split it. And anyway, we dumped a bunch of money into this thing. And I got to a point, we got a big warehouse in Costa Mesa. We had a staff of people working. We were importing all these different LEDs for me to test from China and Korea and everywhere over there. We had a team on the ground over there, and we got up to like $250,000. And I was like, stop. Like, we went to the shows. I was showing the stuff off. Our first show was WPPI. I think it was, I don't know what year that was, 2013, 2014. I don't remember. And then I went to Cinegear with our next rendition of the light, and we started to try to figure it out and hone in on it. And we had spent this much money, and I was like, I don't know that I'm capable of bringing these products to market feeling confident in what we're producing with this team. And I ended up pulling the plug and taking that hit and just being like, I just need to shoot. I need to get back to my roots. I need to stop worrying about this. And Westcott had seen what I was doing, and the president of Westcott came to me and had a meeting with me, and she was just awesome. And she's like, look, we like what you're doing. We like you. We want to do something with you. What do you think we can do? And we started talking about ideas. They had already had a concept for this flex panel, and I just helped fine tune it into what became the Peter Hurley Flex Kit. And now I go all over the world with it. I just went to Europe. It came with me all over Europe. I have a travel kit that I put into a check bag, make sure it's 23 kilos so I can go all over Europe without getting assessed any fees, and it allows me to do my job. So it's so important. I just shot the CEO of Sanofi in Paris, and he had flown here to shoot with me in New York, and years later he was like, no, you got to come to Paris. So I went to Paris, and I brought my kit with me, and I'm able to get the job done wherever I go now with these lights. They're lighting me right now. I mean, it's just been a huge thing, and they've been a huge success. And you'll see if you ever check anything out on Headshot Crew, the majority of shooters have migrated. I just got a message today that that somebody got their flex kit, and it's a game changer for them. So I got to thank Westcott for that. And it allows me to do my job, and it allows me to do my job really well. And now I run around with the flex and other strobes, and I can mix light, and I'm able to do it because of the portability and the flexibility I have with that kit.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're coming out with a flex kit that you can open up and gives you a tan, right? That's the next one?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a bonus of the shooting session, of course.
No SPF needed for these panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love, lighting technology has changed so much in the last 5 years. I remember those Kino flows, being so big, so bulky, super fragile. And, lighting technology now is so awesome. And it's super affordable compared to what it was, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So I love that you have your own panel, and it's so accessible and portable.
It's been awesome.
When's the Peter Hurley camera coming out? What do we like? Is that
I'm in love with Canon. Are you kidding me? They just keep producing awesome stuff. Like when I was medium format forever, and I thought I'd never change. And then they convinced me to go DSLR with the 5 DSR when it came out, because it was 50 megapixels. But then mirrorless came, and I was like, I'm done. The R5 is just unbelievable, and the lens lineup is sick, and there's no reason for me to ever even consider that. I'm really honored to be a Canon Explorer Light, and I love their stuff. So, and it's producing the work that I'm proud of my work. I go through phases where I'm like, I'm not so sure about these files or that file or the way I shot it. The transitions that I've made over the course of my career really affect what your output is. I just launched a new site actually last night, just a little bit of a rebrand. And I'm excited to just fill it with all my newest stuff and get stuff on there that's not on there. And I'm actually gonna force myself to sit down and dig into some of my work that hasn't been seen. I have this thing about this, and I feel very strongly about this. I don't think you ever hear the phrase that if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, did it make it sound? I have this thing that if a picture's taken and it sits on a hard drive, it's just a bunch of information. It's not really a picture till somebody sees it. You can't call it a picture till somebody actually views it and looks at it, and then it's a picture, because a human being's eyes are looking at the picture. So I have so many pictures that people haven't seen that I shouldn't even consider pictures, and I should go in and rectify that.
You're like the Yogi Berra of photography, with all of your sayings and all of your quotes that you come up with. Probably one of the most lovable characters in photography as well. But
Thanks. I try. I was like, I just decided when I was going to do this, I was going to be as entertaining as I could. I mean, photographers' attention span, my attention span's terrible. Like if I can wrap something in a story or attach it to something that's funny, it's more memorable that way. Otherwise, you're just like, boring. You're going to make people fall asleep and not follow you. And I think my people enjoy the fact that I'm kind of raw and just let what comes into my brain come out of my mouth. And my wife says that's a problem sometimes, but other than
it's a strength.
It's okay.
So back to lenses and hardware. Canon just came out with 24 to 105 2.8, which has been.
I know.
Have you used this yet? Because where's this technology been?
Oh my gosh, I haven't used it yet, but I did have the call yesterday. So whenever they come out with a lens like that, sometimes we'll get the heads up. Usually they'll pick an Explorer to launch it. So I think Lindsay launched it, Lindsay Adler, and somebody will get to play with it ahead of time. And it depends on the genre they're going for and who's going to be that person. But they put us on a list, and I was like, get me on the list. I need, because it's hard when a lens like that comes out. It's so hot that they want to let everybody try it, and we usually get to try it, but I want to purchase one. I want to own one myself. So we're on a list to make that purchase. So I can't wait to get my hands on that one. One of my favorite lenses actually to travel with, and that 2.8 looks pretty glassy. I don't know how heavy it's going to be. It looks pretty big from what I've seen. I've never held it or seen it in person, but that 24 to 105 f4 is my baby when I'm traveling, because it's like so light and so small, and I don't need to bring another lens with me. I actually did the job in Paris, and I think I only brought the 24 to 105 f4 with me. And I was on a plane, and photography opens a lot of doors for you. Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
People like photographers. Photographers are cool. And photographers usually have varied jobs, and then they have this passion for photography. So one of my associate photographers, a dear friend of mine, Peter Hurley, is also a pilot for KLM. And I was doing the workshop in Amsterdam, but then I had to go to Barcelona. So he's like, well, after the workshop, I'll fly you to Barcelona. And he's like, just buy a ticket on this flight, and I'll get that flight. I'll pilot that flight to Barcelona. And I guess KLM has this rule that if you're friends with the pilot, you can sit with them in the cockpit, which is like, oh yeah, which I had never
There's
said.
no co-pilot? Like, where'd the co-pilot go?
Well, the co-pilot was there. I was in the jump seat.
Oh,
so right. I'm between the pilots in the jump seat. I'm like here. And I got my R5 with my 24 to 105 on it. And I got my iPhone, because I was like, I got to do social, but I want to take some shots, and and I was getting excited because we were flying over the America's Cup as it was going on. They were practicing. So I'm looking down, I'm like all geared up, and then I'll tell you what, the takeoff and landing, very eventful. When you're up in the air and there's nothing going on, like they're talking to some people sometimes, and there's like I had the headphones, I had the whole shebang, I had everything going on. It was great. And but I was like, it's cool seeing clouds go by and I get a different viewpoint that you can actually look forward at what's coming at you on the plane. But I was like, these long flights, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of boring. I mean, like if nothing's happening, it's just like they're sitting there hanging out, which is, I guess, cool if you like your co-pilot. It was eventful for me because there were three of us. But anyway, when you're taking off and landing, it's eventful. So we're coming in for this landing, and I had this view of the runway like I never had before. So I'm fumbling around. I'm trying to decide: am I going for the camera? Am I going for the iPhone? What am I doing? And I put the camera down next to me. I forgot about it, and we landed. And the pilot, it was a soft landing, but Peter put on the brakes. Well, the R5 and the 24-105 slammed into the back of his head. Straight down on the floor. It was actually the back of his chair, not his head. His head was protected, but it slammed into his chair and right down on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, that's not good. So I look at it, I pick it up. Luckily, zero damage. I was like, and I was testing it, no damage, no issues. The thing held up like a tank. I couldn't believe it, except it jarred like a piece of dust or something in the lens, jarred it to the one of the rear elements. So there's like this big chunky piece of dust on the rear element. So I'm trying to blow air in it just to get it to move. Anyway, it's sitting right over here. I got to send it back to Canon. So so that's the only lens I take. So I'm like, shit, I got to shoot this job in Paris.
You travel with one lens, no backup, anything?
No backup
you live on
camera.
the edge. I like it. I love
well,
that.
when I shot medium format, well, you've got to figure I have a global community. I've got photographers in every town. Most people, I'm going to find somebody that's a Canon shooter and borrow a camera, or I'm going to rent a camera. The Canon, to get a Canon somewhere is probably not that difficult to find an R5 in any major city. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about that. And you know why? Because I do it specifically. One is because I'm sponsored. This actually happened. I got on the shoot and I called Canon USA and said, hey, I have this lens issue, because I was trying, and the day of the shoot, we were trying to rent a lens, I was trying to get a 28 to 70 because I wanted that f2 lens, and I had the 24 to 105, but it had that dust on. I guess I could have shot it and retouched that big spot off. That's what my plan was. But then I was like, no, I need f2 in this office that I'm shooting. I want to lose some of that. I want that bokeh and stuff. So I called Canon USA. They fired up Canon France. Canon France said, yeah, we're gonna message you over that lens. And the reason why they did it is because I was trying to rent it, and they needed like a background check on me and everything. And I was like, screw this. Went straight to Canon France. They messaged it over. I was like, what can I pay you? Can I pay for the messenger? Can I rent the thing? Can I do anything? They're like, no. You're an Explorer Light. We got you. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I know people listening are like, that fucker, but
you paid them off in croissants, didn't you?
You know, yeah, it was like, well, it's like, I know I'm going to get out of buying because of what I built. I mean, I'm fortunate to have, and worst case scenario, I'm going to just call a photographer in one of those cities and just give me your camera. If it's not a Canon, I'll just, obviously I don't want to ever do that, but yeah, this is the reason I shot medium format for years. When I switched to the DSLR, and I have wood right here, and I'm going to knock on it, but I probably shouldn't, because I never broke a Canon.
You have wood right now? That's inappropriate, Peter. Come on.
Unless I dropped it myself or something. I don't think I've sent a camera in since 2015, when I became an Explorer Light and shifted to Canon. And when I shot medium format, it was 60 to 90 days. If 60 to 90 days went by of me shooting and the camera didn't break, I was like, it's going down.
Yep.
It's going to go down.
I remember the Hasselblad days, with Rob, and there was just always an issue, whether it was the firewire or the connection to the camera. It was just a constant struggle to get the thing to work throughout the whole shoot. Oh,
yeah. No, that was the situation that we were in. And I told the companies, I mean, I don't know now, because I stopped that long ago. It was usually the auxiliary shutters, just, stuff like that, like things that you just be like, oh my gosh. And I was doing a shoot in LA, and I remember I had two bodies with me, and I think I was shooting Mario Lopez. I think I had to go shoot. His wife was a client of mine, and they invited me to their house. And I think I had a bunch of shooting. It was during that trip. I think it was that trip out to LA. I don't 100% remember, but I had a couple days of shooting, and one back went down. The body went down. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I had backup. And then that one went down. And then I called my assistant in New York, and I was like, FedEx me the other camera, because I had 3 of them. And they FedEx me that one while I went to go rent another one to make sure I could get through the week. It was just like, I was like, this is crazy. And then I went to the Canon, just like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I know it's risky taking one camera. I will if they come out with the basically I would think they would come out with an R5 Mark II or something. I'll have that and the R5 as backup. That's the plan when that happens. But right now I've got an R5, I've got an R, but my assistant shoots and she's using the R, so I can't take it anyway. So I need to get more cameras. I got a bunch of R8s doing this now. Maybe I don't think I'd ever worry about taking them with me, but I got a podcast set up with the R8s. Look at the fancy stuff I got. Look, I got a little setup here. See?
Yeah, I just saw balloons. Did you see that? I don't know where those balloons came from, but
where do the balloons come from?
I just saw balloons like everywhere on your video, and I was like,
somebody said like if you wave your hand or something. Hold on, what's that got to do with me? Like I had that happen on another one today. I waved my hand and balloons went up, but I thought that was a Zoom thing.
If it's based on what was said.
An iOS thing?
I don't know.
I think I waved my hand.
How do I get balloons? You know, I'm a little jealous that you got balloons and I don't.
I can't make the balloons go up again. I think it's a hand gesture. Is it a hand gesture? I don't know.
I don't know either. But
it must
Canon
be a
professional services. For all the photographers that don't have it and you're running an actual studio, you need to sign up for it. It's not very expensive. Something goes down that like it's saved my butt so many times. So I would highly recommend CPS.
CPS is taking care of me.
I'm not sponsored by Canon. I shoot Sony. CPS though. Every camera company has a version of CPS. And if you're a professional shooter, you need to have it. Look at you trying to make the balloons happen.
I'm gonna make the balloons go for CPS. How do you make the balloons go again?
So headshot photography, you know, even with like online dating, I view it a lot like real estate shooters. You can make like there's such a high demand for it, and there's always going to be a demand for it. And you can make it's a really good entry point or an exit point from wedding photography. You want to get out of that. So what advice do you have for photographers that you know might want to get into headshot photography, and like how do they start out?
Well, it's funny. I had so many people on this dating thing come up to me. So I had I had a lawyer come in. Normally it's the guys. Like the women will never tell me that they want to use it for dating. I've never had a woman come in and go, hey, by the way, I'm going to use these for dating. But the dudes will tell me. They'll be like, look, I need it for my law practice, but can we get some ones that, you know, I can use on the apps? And I'm like, oh yeah, now we're talking game time. Let's go. And this guy, like, he called me back. He's like, you don't understand. It's like a full-time job after your shots. Put your shots up there. I was like, wow. Yeah. And then it started happening because the guys will confide in me. And then another old client was like, Peter, I'm getting divorced. I gotta come in. I gotta, you know, you got to get my shots going. And he's in media. So I shot him. Same thing. He's like, you don't understand. When I posted your stuff, it was crazy. And he says to me, he goes, have you thought of a business model for this? And I was like, yeah, I was thinking about doing that. And this is one of my ideas that's sitting on the back burner. But we started to come up with names for this company where I was going to coach the photographers on shooting the dating stuff. And I just haven't gotten around to because I'm just too busy doing other stuff. And I don't know if I ever will, but I came up with a name for it. I was like, we're going to call it Lugal. Let us get you laid.
What about Get Shebanged? You know? Come on.
That could work. But it's amazing. Like if you're out here and you're listening to this and you're a photographer and you're not sneaking that in, most people, you're developing a rapport from them and you're asking them questions about their life. And if you come across that they're single, you'd be like, hey, you know, let me make sure that you're their personal brand manager at that point. You have to be like, are you on the apps? Like, how are you doing? And if you are, then, you know, you should have good shots. They should be getting shots during that just for, you know, and I enjoy that part of it anyway. It's kind of fun. And I always like the updates. I'm like, I really want to know, did it work? Like, fill me in. I want the goods.
Yeah.
So cool.
So you gotta, I imagine you're providing some diversity and not just a bunch of, you know, shots on white. So are you giving people like 7 to 8 like wardrobe changes inside outside against the brick wall, not the brick wall? How you
I don't use the brick wall technique. The BWT that's was overused in the 80s and 90s and the parquet floor. You know, I don't shoot.
Agree to disagree. It's coming back.
Yeah. My thing is about creating range for them that they'll use that's in the scope of my aesthetic. So, you know, I don't go that far. They really don't you know, if they hire me, I hope they're not being too stringent on what they want that's outside my scope, because I don't want to shoot an inferior product. People ask me to go outside to shoot their headshots, and I'm always like, oh, why would you do that when I get perfect freaking lighting? I'm like so good. I mean, I'm very good outside too. I will do it, but they got to really twist my arm and they got to have a reason. You know, but variety is key. So I want to sell images, and I want to sell images that work for them. So in order to create variety, how do you do it? Obviously, you're trying to do it at on all angles, like, because people come into a session, if I can keep them here, you never know what somebody's timeline's like. Most CEOs and stuff, if they give me 20 minutes, I'm lucky. Like I ask for 20 minutes. Some will, you know, like the guy who flew here to shoot with me, he stayed for a while and it was just me and him one-on-one. It's always nice that way. When they've got the handlers and stuff to deal with, it's another thing. But I'm trying to build out shots that they'll use that are enough variety so that they have stuff to play with when they want to put out something on LinkedIn and they want to mix it up in a month or 2 months and they want to change it, and or they get asked to provide a headshot because they have a speaking opportunity that might be a different energy. You know, it might be a different color. Everybody gets the white background because I think it's a staple. But then I want them to change, and I'm going to change the background color. I'm going to change their expression. I'm going to change the angle of their face. I'm going to change a number of things just to give them variety. I don't like shooting the same shot and then having them keep 2 shots that are very similar. So I usually dissuade them from that. Even though I'm selling my images, if I take 2 shots that are very similar and they like, oh, I love both of those, I'll be like, pick one. What are you doing? Like, you don't need both of those. Are both very similar. And sometimes, you know, I could sell more images because at the end of the shoot they're buying. If I didn't do that, but I don't feel that works with the way that I roll. I want them to buy the images that they're going to use. And I usually am fortunate enough to create some badass imagery, and we have trouble narrowing it down. And I enjoy that. So, and they're frustrated. They're like, they're too good. I can't pick. And I'm like, yeah, that's the nature of the beast when you come to me. It's the way it's going to work out. That's what we're doing.
And you're having them pick at the end of the session, or are they coming back for this?
At the end of the session, we're doing it. We're doing it in the it's basically, I shoot a look. So tethering is my number one coaching tool. So they're going to learn the most from a tethered capture. Believe it or not, humans have the capacity to learn. So if you show them looking shitty, they'll fix it. They might fix their face for you. And it does get better as you go. So it's like, it's amazing to me. And so tethering is huge, but it's also the ability to compare different one shot to the next. Capture One just came out with this culling feature that is just awesome for me. So it uses AI to find the eyeball and make sure it's in focus, which is phenomenal. Which, you know, with the auto eye detect on the Canon,
I didn't know about this. So if eyes are closed, you don't see it, or is it just throw it in another folder?
You just zap it, just get it out of there. Like it'll if you're shooting. So for instance, I had a great job, and I'm going back. I was shooting at the Met. I was shooting the curators at the Met, and I shot like 3,000 images. It was crazy. And I put them into the culling thing, and they were portraits. There were some headshots in there, but you know, on a headshot, I can see if the eye's in focus. On a portrait, you know, it zooms, it finds the eye. And then, you know, I was also shooting low light. I was shooting, you know, in the Met using available light for some of it. I was mixing strobe. I was mixing flex. I was varying up things a lot. I was shooting pretty open apertures, and I'm going through this. And actually, Capture One and I have partnered up, and they're helping me work with the headshot crew. So we've got everybody in the crew going Capture One, which is amazing because I can coach through that amazing program, which is helping me do my work really well. But as it came out, Alex from Capture One came in and sat here with me, and the culling feature had just started, and I had just shot this job. And all of a sudden I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Actually, the CEO of Capture One is coming in 2 hours to meet with me. So I'm going to be able to, I think he's coming in 2 hours. So I'm going to hang out with that dude and we're going to talk shop and I'm going to tell him, you built some cool stuff for me to use. This is amazing. So
I love it.
He's in New York, so he's coming by the studio.
I love it. I want to get through a little bit of the Headshot Crew website. Can I pull this sucker up?
Sure, yeah.
All right, here we go. So if you're just now tuning in, from now until January 31st, if you make any purchase at proedu.com, Peter has thrown in 12 months of the Headshot Crew, the entry-level listing. So you can get a listing on this website. You can join his whole Headshot Crew and start there. And then you'll be able to, upgrade, get to associate. So associate, that's where you get tested, right, from you, and you become one of these featured photographers.
Yes. Oh, yeah. See that? So the shots that you're looking at are all contest winners. All those shots won contests in our monthly or weekly contests. So those show up on top, and those are public facing. You can see some links in there. We launched something. I don't know if it's public facing, but we launched a marketplace. Everybody asked me for like, hey, if I want to sell gear, can't you just like do something? And I was like, I mean, I guess we could. I was like, I don't want to be in charge of all that. But my web developer developed a marketplace, and then we have a marketplace where you can go in and you can sell gear on Headshot Crew. I think that's super cool. So hopefully everybody uses it.
Nice. And you have to be logged in for that?
That's a good question. Is it showing? I could always log in and show it if I could.
Probably have to be logged in.
It's under resources. Go to resources. I don't think you have to be logged in. Marketplace. I don't know if anybody's put anything in there yet. Well, oh, wait, somebody did. Ceramic Blink. Somebody's trying to sell a Ceramic Blink 500 B2 system for $150. There you go. That's a start. Oh, Kim.
Look at this. All right. So
there you go.
This is great. You can see, so all these people, 10 of them in St. Louis. And oh yeah, a lot of these names look familiar. This is great.
You did St. Louis. Cool.
Let's look at
you got Barron's in there?
Yeah.
Come on.
New York? Let me guess, you're first. Did you rig it so you're first?
I think I'm always first. Yeah, I'm first even if you put St. Louis. What do you it's mine. My name's at the door, on the door. What are you gonna do?
I love it. All right. So we got
yeah, you guys go in here and put your city. And go to headshotcrew.com, click find a photographer, put your city. I'm going to put St. Louis and see who comes up.
Yeah, these are great. I mean, you put these images in your portfolio, you're getting swiped right on, right?
Yeah, baby. That's it. That's going to be all sorts of activity. We should do a feed just for stories about that.
Yeah. And I love it that, you're like, copy my style. This is the product that we're making. And there really is no room for improvement, right? I mean, do you use are these the best headshots are going to get?
Well, I'm work in progress. So I change it and I keep getting better. So a tweak of what I'm doing is so minimal that I'm like, I freak out, but other people won't notice, but I'll sprinkle it through the crew. It's for instance, like, I'll give you an example. I learned from my students. So Fabio is in Munich and I was in Zurich, and we just had a conference down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee called the Headshot Crew Hideaway 2. And unfortunately he didn't make this year, but he made the Hideaway last year. Anyway, I get routed. I'm in Athens. I went to Greece, and I was in Greece for a little bit for some stuff with my friend, and I flew from Athens to Barcelona, but I had to stop in Munich, and the flight gets rerouted because of a thunderstorm, and we have to go to Linz, Austria or something. I don't know, refuel, and then get back to Munich. We get back to Munich. The flight to Barcelona is gone. I'm like, damn, I missed the flight to Barcelona. I'm like, what am I going to do? And they're like, well, you could either get on this later flight or you could stay over. And I was already tired by then. I was like, I'll just stay over. So like I said, I have photographers all over the world. So I'm in Munich in the airport, and I get a hotel, and I go and I mention to Fabio, I'm at the airport. I got a hotel. Can you come? I want to do your associate review while I'm, you know, trying to take myself out of my misery by drinking a bunch of German beers. So he picks me up and my wife at the airport, brings us to our hotel. We do the associate review hammered in the hotel, and he becomes associate on the headshot crew. And I'm like, it's like a big deal. So he's there, and there's, you know, we got a couple other associates in Munich. I think Thomas, I don't know how, I know him and Thomas are at least. Anyway, but he ends up signing, he was already signed up for the Zurich intensive. So he does the intensive, and I do this thing called the Intensify, which is the third day. I'm actually revamping the whole thing for 2024. So all the new workshops in 2024 are going to have this new style that I'm working on producing, and I've been working on it and thinking about it and brainstorming. So it's going to be super cool. But anyway, in this intensified thing, they shoot me. So he's shooting me, and he says to me, he goes, I want you to stand up straight. So what I normally would say is stand up straight, like sit up really straight to get the jawline out, lean back slightly, and jam your forehead out. Well, human beings, when they hear this, they stand up straight. They don't lean back at all. And when you say jam your forehead out, they lean forward like this, which is not the move. You can't lean the body forward. You have to get, watch, I'll show you. You have to get the gonium angle. Can you see me on this side?
Yep.
You see, I can't see now. I got to look at my picture. Okay. So you got to sit up straight. You got to get this movement going. Like the gonial.
It's like the chicken head.
Yeah. Or a turtle, whatever you want to call it, whatever works for you. But this curve of the jawline has to get over the clavicle. So there's a couple of inches of movement there. You need it. It has to do it. But the problem is that most people don't do that. They go like this. Instead of this, they go like this. You see that? So he says to me, he goes, I want you to Matt. Yeah, you got it. You got it. You're a pro. That's a pro move. And you got a little action under there that we don't want to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't want this going. You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want my gizzard flapping in the wind, you know?
So he says to me, he goes, sit up straight, stand up straight. He goes, act like there's Velcro across your shoulder blades and it's attached to the wall behind you. I was like, you're kidding me. He goes, yeah. I was like, that's amazing. That's, people get that. Like they need a visual and they get it. So I immediately instituted that into all my teaching. And every time I say it, I talk about Fabio, because I believe that where I learn something, if I learn something from somebody else, I want people to know about that. I expect that with me, but some people go out there and talk about my stuff without mentioning me, which we don't need to talk about, but that happens. But I don't do that. So I'm proud of Fabio giving me this. And the Velcro thing, like the level of excitement for me, like most people hearing this are like, that's no big deal. Yeah, you got to, whatever. But for me doing this every day, you understand I have to shoot, like some jobs I have to go in and shoot 50 people in one day, and I have to coach them quickly on this stuff. And the Velcro thing is going to save so much time of me trying to, hell, somebody's banging on something. So much time with this. So thank you, Fabio. I'm pretty excited. The one thing that we're doing, this just made me think about this. WPPI and I are talking, and they want to come up with a concept, and I'm like, of something to do at the show. And usually we shoot headshot crew. We shoot headshots. If you come by the booth, we'll shoot a headshot for you. Sometimes we'll do it for people who sign up for the crew. Sometimes we'll just do it just to teach. And sometimes we'll just say anybody who wants to come by can get a headshot. But WPPI is like, well, why don't we take it one step further? Why don't we shoot everybody that comes to the show and get everybody leaves with a headshot, and we do it all in one day, and we could try to break a Guinness Book of World Records. I was like, well, there is no Guinness Book of World Records, because we actually tried to figure that out for another thing that we were doing, and we didn't quite make it. But Guinness wants cash to get in the book. And I'm like, it's worth it. Let's just go for it. So everybody who's going to WPPI, get ready, because I'm going to have a bunch of headshot crew stations set up, and I'm going to have a bunch of headshot crew photographers shooting this. And we're going to shoot the most amount of people that ever been shot in one place in one day in Vegas on the first day of WPPI. That's the plan. And I'm going to coach them as they get up to this station so that they're going to do everything. They're already going to know everything to do. So all they have to do is step in front of the camera, get like 3 or 4 shots or whatever, and then move on, and they're done. And we're going to shoot. The goal is to shoot, well, as many people that show up, but we need you to show up. So if you're at the show, you've got to get in line and do this so that we can get, I'm hoping for like 4,000 people shot in one day.
So wouldn't one photographer have to do this? Like,
no,
isn't it cheating if there's like 500 headshot photographers? She's like, that's easy. Where's
that's fine. But that's fine. But it's all in one place. We were going to do one photographer, me doing it. But then I said, do I really want to exhaust myself for a Guinness book? I mean, maybe I'll do it, but I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like you're cutting corners here. I mean, if you want to hold the record,
No,
I think one person's got to do this. You can't have 35 people shooting. That's just like
not 35.
That happens all the time at weddings. Get out.
Yeah, but no, not headshots.
In India, for sure. There's that many people that go to a wedding every day.
They shoot headshots. They're going to shoot 4,000.
I think one of you needs to step up, whether it's you or someone else. Like one person's going to step up.
Let it be another year. I don't think that was the original plan, but I was like,
you're an Olympic athlete. You're telling me you don't have the endurance to do this?
I don't think I'm up for it. I could do it.
Now with that attitude, Peter, I think we need to turn this right around.
Be a little
more positive.
So I would have to do it. It would have to be like a marathon, like 24 hours straight without moving from the camera. I'd have to have like a bladder product or something on me, so that.
Yeah, maybe we could probably get at least 2 or 3 at that point. You know, without peeing. Yeah, how many times you peed in one day? You could set that record. I mean, you could be like hitting like 3 or 4 records here. We need to think outside of the box here, Peter. We've got a good idea, but it's not great.
All right, let's see. Let me decide what is the incentive for me after I probably shot more people than most people on the planet anyway. I mean, I have shot more people than a lot of people. Although I coach photographers that have done the school photography. Like I coach this one guy. He's shot at least 1 million kids. He's like, I've been doing it for 40 years or something. I do, thousands of kids a year. He's like, I must have shot 1 million by now. I was like, oh my God. So I'm not even close. I am estimating that I shot somewhere between 30 and 40,000 people somehow at this stage of the game. So adding another 4,000 faces, I could do it quick. I did 478 people in one day once.
Yeah, you got this.
So I could do, I don't know, I could do 10 times that. I guess so. I could probably do it.
This is the attitude I was talking about.
But the problem is that I'm too much of a perfectionist. I would wait till I got the good shot. I wouldn't just take the shot and go, all right, that's it. You're good. I would look at it. I'd coach.
Yeah. Then you would earn it. Then you would earn it for real. Otherwise, it's just
if we all do it together and a bunch of photographers have flex kits, we're all going to do it the same way. It's all going to be a Peter Hurley style. So there'll be more learning going on.
But what's the record there, though? A bunch of
there's no Guinness record that I know of that where somebody actually paid Guinness money to say how many pictures they took in one day.
So how many Guinness records though has it like a bunch of people set a record? What's another example where a bunch of people set a record?
That's interesting. You're saying that it's got to be an individual, otherwise it's.
Maybe that's just what came to mind.
Well, why don't we just ask you guys, go find out what the records are, and then let me know, and then we'll make a decision. We'll make an informed decision as to what we should do.
Yeah. When is WPPA?
It's March, first week in March.
All right. And are you going to Imaging in January?
Yes, I'll be at Imaging. We've got a booth there. We got a headshot crew booth there. Come see us there. For sure.
Do like a little practice down there. A little.
I can. I got enough practice. I don't need any practice. I don't need any practice, but I lean on my crew to get this stuff done. People get excited about this stuff. How am I going to just do it myself and people watch? And it's Vegas. I like to gamble. I'm going to be exhausted at the blackjack table till 3 a.m.
Oh, poor you. Oh, Peter's going to be exhausted at the blackjack table. Oh, you are hilarious. Man. we've had some fun time over the years. I really appreciate your time and coming on here. Do you want to leave us with some like Jerry Springer type advice, like words of wisdom before we get out of here?
I don't know what kind of words of wisdom I have. I think if you're watching this, you're probably a photographer. You're probably trying to make it in this industry, which is super cool. We get to point the camera at people and press the button. If you're a portrait photographer, get really good at building a rapport with your subject and shoot some headshots of them and get paid. I mean, that's really it. I mean, there's absolutely no reason not to. I don't know why people don't add it as a genre to what they have on their websites, on their current websites. They're probably sitting there doing weddings and they're like, you could easily add this. This is such an easy ad. Just get it done. If you want to learn how to do it well, go to headshotcrew.com. I'll coach you. And if you suck, I will get you better. And if you do the work, I will get you better. And if you suck and don't do the work, I will not get you better. You got to be willing to put the work in. You got to bust ass to get this going, and I will help you.
I love that. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. You know, Tony Roseland is an architecture photographer. He's great, but he's also got a side headshot business. He's like the demand for it. And, you know, in my town is so big. Why wouldn't I? It's good money. So I love what you're doing. And thank you for participating in the Photographer's Toolkit. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to cracking a beer soon.
There you go. I'm so psyched you had me on. Very cool.
All right.